So the session starts about 9:30 in the morning with a keynote presentation. The keynote today was delivered by Sherman. He is the COO of HubSpot. If you've ever seen him speak, he's just a contagiously positive man, and he had a really great presentation here today. He was followed by Ng-Mak, who is the VP of Global Partner Strategy and Operations. She actually was recently promoted to that position. We've worked with her in the past in the capacity of, I believe, some type of a sales executive. Followed by Holland, who's the GM of the Marketing Hub. All the different hubs in the portal have their own general manager, and he's, again, another very dynamic, contagious personality. So the three of them spoke about some new features that are being rolled out. A couple of them I am allowed to talk about, things that either have been announced to the public already or are going to be announced shortly here. The first of them is an announcement specifically about the HubSpot Partner Program and new tiers that are being introduced. So there's a new tier above the Diamond tier. If you're not familiar with tiers, depending on how much you sell, how much you manage in an ongoing capacity, that moves you up through the tiered program. It used to start at Silver, followed by Gold, followed by Platinum, followed by Diamond. Well, when we first signed up, there were maybe 5 or 6 Diamond partners. Today, there's 66. So it's not that it's become too easy to become a Diamond partner. It's just that there's so many more HubSpot partner agencies that are out there and competing that it's starting to become a filled space. It is still a very elite space, but they wanted to really set up a new tier, a new division that lets people know the absolute most elite of all HubSpot providers. So they've introduced a new tier above Diamond, actually called Elite. So that is now the top tier, and there's a new bottom tier. They've dropped off Silver, and they've replaced it with what's called a Provider. So 2 new tiers that have been introduced. Pretty exciting for us internally. I'm sure nobody out there in the actual execution world when it comes to marketing is interested in that, but fun for us. Things that are available on the HubSpot platform that are exciting, a couple key ones that I took away. We now have the ability to build LinkedIn ads directly in HubSpot. That's similar to how we've been able to build Facebook ads. So that's now available. Something else that's really incredible is Facebook Messenger now feeds into our shared inbox. So if you're using the Service Hub, if you're using, chats on your site or a support email address, those were all previously feeding into that shared inbox. Well, now Facebook Messenger also feeds in. So more channels for you to field inquiries from your clients and from your, leads, all being dumped into that shared inbox. So that's wonderful. And then another one that people are really excited about was this new workflows feature. So workflows, previously, you were able to go down like if-then paths. Well, now if-then paths might take you to a dead end where you can then jump to another path. So that's something that a lot of people got excited about. If you work in HubSpot, if you work in workflows, you know how frustrating it can be to have an if-then path, but then have to replicate 30 different steps on both of those paths. And then if those have if-thens, then you have 4 different paths. And this is just going to simplify the process. So all exciting stuff. That was in the keynote presentation. There's a lot more, but those were my really keyest takeaways from the presentation. That was followed by a series of sessions. You had the choice of 3 different sessions in 6 different time slots. So I'm going to talk about the ones that I got to attend. In the first session, this is at 11:15, what I sat in on was a panel discussion called How Successful Agencies Are Winning with Integrations. This was important for me to attend just because I know how important integrations are to HubSpot and their growth. HubSpot doesn't want to be known as an all-in-one marketing platform. They want to be known as an all-on-one tech stack. They want people to be developing software that integrates with HubSpot, and you're not just using HubSpot and HubSpot's built tools. You're using whatever your business needs to use, and it all feeds into one place. So this discussion was between a few people. Let me read their names. We've got Jordan Beattie from Fifth Ring, Gabriel Marguglio from Nextiny Marketing. I'm sure I messed that up. I apologize. You might know him. He's the video guy. He talks about his agency, how they got into the video space, and that really transformed who they are. Michelle O'Keefe from Engaging Partners, Scott Brinker, and Nancy Riley from HubSpot. So this panel discussion was them talking about what it's like to become an integration partner, coding it out, how to get on the platform, get approved. And it was a bit about how HubSpot partners can really encourage their clients to use these integrations and make the software as functional and flexible as possible. For me, that was followed by the 12:15 session, where I went to probably my favorite session of the day, Upskill Your Team with Curated Learning Paths. This is presented by Kevin Dunn. If you've ever taken any of the HubSpot certifications, you might have come across Kevin Dunn. Or if you've seen their video, their vlog called Agency Unfiltered, that's hosted by Kevin Dunn. In this session, Kevin spoke about the different certifications that are available and how you can identify different roles within your agency, within your organization. Say, okay, you're in a marketing manager capacity. These are the 4 core certifications you should have, followed by this series of maybe 4, 5, 6 other certifications. So he went through and did that for marketing managers, content developers, business operations, maybe sales managers, and really outlined different paths that you can go down. So you're not wasting your time getting certifications in places that are irrelevant to you. We actually just recently did an episode that Sage Levine put together for us on certification paths. So very similar as far as the substance of the talk. After the session, I actually spoke with Kevin and asked if he'd join us on Inbound and Down, and he's agreed. So coming up soon, we are going to have Kevin Dunn covering the curated learning paths that he discussed in his session. So that's going to be really exciting. That was followed for me at 1:15 by a presentation called From Platinum to Diamond in 4 Months, What We Would and Wouldn't Do Again. These were 2 people from an agency over in London. It was John Kelleher and Lucy Seymour from ESM Inbound. What they did was just discuss the different things they've been through over the last couple of months trying to grow their agency, and made a lot of great recommendations and challenges they had built around pricing, challenges with staffing, challenges with, client interactions and what's acceptable. So a few interesting things that I took away from that. One was a cautionary tale about retainer-based services. And when you allow a client who pays you a retainer model, but don't really document or limit the amount of service hours you deliver, it can become dangerous, especially on scale when you have many, many, many clients. It's something that we've contemplated internally and something that we do have some provisions in place to protect us against. But just some really interesting information coming from them. Those types of sessions every year at Partner Year are always my favorite, to see agencies that have been there, done that, and have seen the growth. Really a lot of excellent information you can take away from those sessions. That was followed by a 3:15 session. For me, it was a panel discussion called Building Successful Work Teams. And then I sat in on a panel discussion called Growing Your Leadership Skills. And both of them, I lumped them together because they covered similar topics. So the first one was Patty Cisco from Marketing Essentials. I've seen her on a few different panels in the past. That was also Clodagh Higgins from Growit Group. She is an advisor for agencies. I've seen her in a few different sessions in the past. And then 2 other people. It was Julia Edward from Impressa Solutions and Matt Sunshine from Lead G2. Then the second session, the Growing Your Leadership Skills, that was Mark Hirschberg from Revenue River, who actually looks like the son or nephew of Eric Pratt, the managing partner at Revenue River. So it's interesting to see that they all kind of look alike. It was also Tyler Piggott from Loan for Creative. Tyler and I attended a sales Kickstarter. It was called Sales Lion. I think it was called Sales Lion. I'm not sure the exact name, but it was a Kickstarter that we did together. He's an excellent dude, runs a great little firm there called Loan For. And Jen Spencer from SmartBug Media. She's actually the head of sales or the VP of sales operations and new business acquisition, something fancy like that, over there at SmartBug Media. If you don't know SmartBug, they are taking the world by storm right now, 100% remote employees, but doing really, really great work and growing in a very impressive way. So again, the reason that I lumped these together is the first one was really covering company culture and how to build a strong team. And the second one was about how to be great leaders, which also seemed to speak to the idea of building great teams. And from both of those, the first session I really took away something that we've mentioned in the past, that every company out there has a company culture. Everybody talks about, what they've defined as their values. And like I've said before, they kind of try to take credit for it on their own as if they came up with this idea. But we all got it from somewhere, either the book Company Culture or the book Traction, or if you were at HubSpot's Inbound conference last year in 2018, it was a big part of that presentation. So there are a few different places that we all arrived at the same place. What I found interesting about this is the company culture conversation was really about feel good, how to grow a great culture and everyone be happy and love each other. But there are some negative aspects of company culture that need to be addressed. When people fall out of love with your company culture, it now makes us as agency owners have to make difficult decisions to keep everything in line. So they did touch on a bit of how company culture really does need to dictate your firing. I'm not really sure the best way to put it, but how to dictate how you run your company. So that's very important. The second session was a bit about hiring, but it was really about how to be a good leader, how to go through that path of you got really great employees and they are superstar salespeople, for example. Well, if you take a superstar salesperson that's found success and move them into a sales manager role, the qualities and skill sets that they had as a salesperson will not necessarily translate to being a great leader. So interesting to see how to address helping people become great leaders, helping you yourself become a great leader.